Hello there. We're going to do another album reaction. Thank you for visiting the channel. This is metal album reaction, so if you found this video, more than likely you know what this is. You know sort of the formula, know my modus operandi, what I do. We're doing a short album today, and no one's requested this thing. This is just one that I wanted to get out of the way personally, because I've seen it over and over and over again, and I just wanted to get it knocked out, man. I'm tired of seeing it, man. I want to listen to this thing, see what all the fuss is about. So, the album is Nightmare Logic by Power Trip. Now, Power Trip is a modern thrash metal band, and to me, they sort of occupy the similar space as bands like Havoc, Vector, and just bands of their ilk who are trying to basically bring back the glory days of thrash. And I love thrash, so I have nothing wrong with that. I don't know why I haven't heard this thing. This is a real head scratcher for me. So I don't want to give too much away about the album. All I can say is that it came out in 2017 through Southern Lord and was met with critical acclaim. So this thing should be pretty good, and it's only 32 minutes. It's 8 tracks. The average run length for these tracks are about 3.5 minutes, so they're pretty short tracks. If they're under 4, I'm going to go ahead and let them play all the way through. If they're over 4, I'm going to stop them halfway through, so per the usual. I don't really have much else to say, guys. I'm pretty excited about this thing. I think it's going to be good. After this, I'm going to get back to some of your requests. So, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. I just want to get this one out of the way because I think it'd be quick, easy. It's, a very popular album. So, we'll see what's going on with this thing. The first track is called Soul Sacrifice, and it is 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Right there, man. That sounds so much like Slayer. Wow, this is great. I mean, I love the guitar playing on this thing. I'm going to show this to a few different people. There's a certain subscriber that requested the Merciful Fate in the Shadows video that's on this channel. And I'm going to recommend this to them if this ends up being good, because I think they would be able to appreciate stuff like this. I'm not going to go ahead and name drop a bunch of bands in this video like I normally do, because I think we're all at this point familiar with the bands that sort of famously popularized this style, and I don't want to be going here saying, oh, that sounds like Anthrax, or that sounds like Megadeth, that sounds like Slayer, blah, 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 blah. Even though I just did that, I don't want to do that this whole album. I think that's going to get redundant, so, you know, I'm just going to try to talk about other aspects of the music. So far, the guitar playing's great. I love that opening riff. I love the way the music's sped up, too. And the guy's voice sounds pretty cool, too. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and finish the rest of this song out. That riff that they played at about 3:45, like the last 20 minutes of the song, that was so filthy, man. That was so dirty. I love that. The way the guitars sound bring you back, you know, to a certain era. Like, these guitars definitely, you know, they speak of that mid-'80s sound, and the songwriting so far, the riff writing, I should say, is really good, man. It's writing some really good riffs on this particular song, the Soul Sacrifice. I'm not sure what the guy is saying. I'm not really able to pick out anything he's saying, but I'm not really focusing in on too much of what he's saying either. I think that this would please a lot of people who remember those days. It's almost like that band, Greta Van Fleet. I know I said I wouldn't name drop bands, but this is a little bit for a different reason. So you guys know who Greta Van Fleet is, right? Greta Van Fleet is kind of a special band for a lot of people who know and remember Led Zeppelin and who love Led Zeppelin. Even young people that weren't born whenever Led Zeppelin was at the height of their power, right? People that resonate with Led Zeppelin like Greta Van Fleet, usually. Now this, I don't think this is like a rip-off of anything. I mean, people could say, well, that sounds just like Slayer, but what I'm trying to say is that this evokes, you know, sounds from a certain time period, and people that are really keyed into that, those certain sounds, are going to like this band. How could you not like this band, right? So very interesting, very great opening track right there. I'm going to see what's going on with the second track, though. This is called Executioner's Tax, Swing of the Axe. It's 3 minutes and 45 seconds, so that means I'm not going to stop it. I'm just going to let the whole thing play through. That was a good song. I like the sort of palm-muted riff that they relied on for the majority of that song to kind of carry it. It had a good pace. It sounded like sort of an anthem, like people would have been raising their fists in the air and pumping them, you know, for the chorus of that song. Yeah, I thought it was good. I don't know what it was about again, but I want to say the sound of the drums. The drums sound really good on this album. They sound like real drums. They sound like they're being, you know, some skins are being hit. It's making that nice hollow kind of thud. I think that this album, I see it's 32 minutes. I wonder if this is sort of a warm-up. It says it's the second studio album by American thrash metal band Power Trip. I wonder if this is sort of a warm-up to get the public sort of used to their sound, because they are such a kind of a retrograde type of band, and this is sort of a retrograde kind of album. If they're kind of warming people up, and they're gonna come through with like a proper 50-minute, hour-long album, you know, in the future, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just wondering kind of what the intention behind this album was, seeing it's how it's so short. I think that they, you know, they could have, I guess, packaged a lot more music on this thing and people would have eaten it up. You know, I don't think that this is the type of metal that a lot of people can get behind. This is the kind of shit that's going to bring a lot of people together, is what I'm saying. Similar to what Ghost is able to do. Although Ghost, their style is influenced more by like Black Sabbath and Merciful Fate. So overall, I thought that was a good song. So let's see here. This next song is called Firing Squad. It is 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Let's see. You know, we're still feeling our way into the album. We haven't really established a formula yet. Songs 1 and 2 were vastly different. I'm going to see what formula they choose to go with on this third track. See how they vary it up here on the album. So this is track 3, Firing Squad. Let's go.
Victory!
you're a metalhead and you like thrash and that song doesn't make you headbang, I don't know what will, man. That was so cool. There's just, fast, aggressive, kind of old school. That was so cool. I love the way they changed the tempo up halfway through the song. It was a short song. It was only 3 minutes and 17 seconds, but they couldn't keep that pace up the entire way through the song. It would have gotten a little bit monotonous. So they switched the tempo up about midway through. They introduced an entirely new riff, and it was like the song changed, totally changed, and then they get to the very end, and then they're back to the high speed again. Yeah, that was a great song, man. That's probably my favorite right there so far out of the 3 that I've heard. Probably I like this song, Firing Squad, Soul Sacrifice would be second, and then Executioner's Tax would be third. Firing Squad was a great, great, great song. I'm going to keep that song tucked and play that at family gatherings probably. But anyway, yeah, that was great. I want to move on to the next song. The next song is the title track. It's called Nightmare Logic. It is 4 minutes and 21 seconds. And yeah, we're almost halfway done. I feel like we just started. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play this 4th track. Hopefully this will live up to its billing. So let's see what's going on. If you're not here for the thrash, you need to leave right now, because that's what you're getting in this video. I love the sound of that lead guitar, man. God damn, that thing sounds sinister as fuck, man. It's like wailing and squealing, and it's just like listening to it is a trip, man. It brings me, obviously it takes me back to, listening to other bands from that era whenever thrash was king. It's just this song in particular, it's not as blistering perhaps as Firing Squad, but I think it's also, it's brutal, man. I love the riff, the basic riff. I feel like I'm at the school of hard riffs right now. I'm taking Riffology 101, or actually this is Riffology like 401. This is like the advanced riffage right here. Yeah, this is a great song. I don't know, man. I feel like bands like this are indispensable to metal and to music in general, I think. They play a very distinct, important role, which is to preserve the sounds of the past, to preserve them in certain ways, that people really appreciate and really enjoy, because nobody likes to see, a certain sound, a certain time. Nobody likes to see it get completely forgotten about. They want to see sort of the legacy and the tradition get preserved. And that's kind of what's going on here, and I think that's really important. Kudos to Power Trippin'. They're much more than just this quasi-historical, like, novelty act. I think they have a lot of originality to them as well. They have a lot of cool original riffs. I don't think people should write them off just because they may say that they're a clone of certain bands. I think this band has a lot potentially to offer based on what I've heard so far. I think they could be a really valuable addition to, the current sort of cluster of bands that are playing more modern thrash. Apparently Vector, I don't know if you guys can confirm this or not. Is Vector, are they getting back together or something? I don't know. I heard that Vector was going to be releasing new music, but maybe that's a false rumor. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to let the rest of this song play out. I'm impressed so far. I like it. We'll see what's going on. Some of this reminds me of a certain Brazilian band that will not name, because I promised I wouldn't do that. God, this is so cool, man. I can't believe this exists. I can't believe this is out there. This is such a mind trip, man. Jesus, listening to this is like, it's like getting to hear all of your favorite bands, release a new album in that style. It's so cool. And I know what my buddy, is talking about, who said listening to Greta Van Fleet is like getting a new album from Led Zeppelin. I feel like, this is like getting a new album from some of those giants. And it just sounds so good. They're doing such a good job. They're executing this so well. And it makes me wonder if this is just their natural sound. If you just put like 4 or 5 guys in a room and said, hey, play what comes natural, and this is what happened, or if they went into this album deliberately thinking, hey, let's do music or metal that sounds like this specific type. Let's do this specific thing. Let's try to approximate it as closely as we can. Because, yeah, I want to know where stuff like this comes from, I'm a little bit in the dark about the writing process and how records like this get created. So if any of you know more details about how Power Trip wrote this thing, or if there's a vlog or a video series or something explaining how, you know, the writing process behind this album, I'd love to see that and know that. But yeah, anyway, I love this so far. This is so badass. Alright guys, we're going to get into the 5th track. This is called Waiting Around to Die, and it is 4 minutes and 23 seconds. That title's got me cracking up, man. That's pretty brutal. How many people are doing that in this world, you know? But we're going to go ahead and play this track and see what's going on with it. Pretty consistent mid-tempo drums here, nothing too fancy. Their songs aren't really that fancy if you think about it. It's pretty, you know, by the numbers heavy metal. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, and people may want to argue with me on that, like, this isn't freaking by the numbers, how dare you say that? But what I'm trying to say is it's nothing out of this world, nothing I've never heard before. But I just think that the music, I think the songs are being executed really well, man. The distortion on these guitars is perfect for this style. It's got just enough crunch, but it's not too staticky. It's not really overwhelming. It's not trying to make your ears bleed or anything. It's just, and it's not the heaviest distortion that you'll find, obviously, but I think it still gets the job done. Every single song on here so far is just good for headbanging, man. It's good for moshing. It's perfect for, you just want to put something on that's going to sound good, that's going to make your head bob. It's like this album. This is what you're looking for right here. And his voice, he reminds me of Tom Araya, all right? I didn't say the name of the band. I didn't say the name of the band, but the guy, he reminds me of Tom Araya so much. And he sounds good, you know. This whole thing, that the way this song started out with this sound, I'll rewind it here so you guys can hear what I'm saying. Some kind of weird Stranger Things-ish, kind of 80s synth going on there. I don't know what that is. But then when the distortion kicked in, man, it was just like a punch in the face. That was so perfect, man. I loved how they brought that in. I don't have any complaints about this song so far. I'm going to go ahead and let it finish out. That drum beat that came in the second, I want to say like the last third of that song. Hold on, here it comes. Oh my god, man. God, that is so fucking cool. Like I've said before on other videos, I grew up playing guitar, so that's usually what I focus on more, is the guitar playing. But sometimes, man, a drummer will just like capture my attention, and then it'll just make the song, for me, it'll make the whole song. It'll completely transform how I feel about the sound, or about the song. A new drum pattern will come in, or like Brandaler from Mastodon, and just all these fills will just start blowing your face up, and then it's like, I don't know what happens, but I go from being like lukewarm about a song to all of a sudden it's like I can't stop listening to it. And I think the drummer did a really good job on this song. It was consistent for a while. It felt like we were rocking with the same drum pattern for a while there. But I loved in the last leg, the last third of that song, how the music kind of suddenly stopped, and they had these thunderous hits that were a little bit slow, kind of letting you know, building the anticipation for what was to come, and then breaking into that new drum pattern. You know, I thought it was really well done, man. I thought that was a really cool song. That's one of my favorites on the album so far. Waiting Around to Die, Firing Squad, Soul Sacrifice, Nightmare Logic. I mean, these songs are all good, man. The only one that I'm not as high on is Executioner's Tax, and that's because that felt more like a cheesy sort of like raise your fists in the air, fist pumping sort of anthem, metal anthem from the 80s. And I'm not really down with that sort of thing. I think that that's a little over the top, personally. But I like almost everything else on this album so far. So, and I didn't hate Executioner's Tax, by the way, so don't freak out. I'm going to move on to track 6. This is called Ruination. It's 3 minutes and 10 seconds, so I'm going to let the whole thing play through. wonderful track just to slide right into the track listing right as we're coming down to the home stretch of the album. Just balls to the wall from start to finish. I loved the tempo change here. Hold on. It's coming up right here. They are the masters of the palm mute, man. They just like a lot of those thrash bands, man. That shit is all over this album. Just the, you know, that palm muted, that on that top string, and it's all worked into all of the riffs basically. Do I have to wear a denim or jean jacket when I come see these guys live? Like, is that a requirement? Are they going to throw me out if I'm dressed in, you know, modern day clothing, regular clothing? I wonder, because, man, this is like, I feel like right now I'm in a time capsule almost. It's so crazy. That song Ruination, I thought was one of the most uncompromising just bursts of speed and aggression that there's been on this whole album. I think it's going to end up being one of my favorites, along with Waiting Around to Die and Firing Squad. I think those three are my top three so far. So, and do I need to say anything about the riffs? Like, do you guys hear these riffs? These are fantastic, man. They're probably, people would argue they're derivative, but, you know, to me they sound fresh. To me they sound new. I've listened to a lot of that 80s thrash stuff. And yeah, this is reminding me of certain things, but still it seems like they're putting their own take on it, their own spin on it. They're not just rehashing somebody else's material. Now, some of you may argue with me on that. A lot of you may not like this band and say that they're too derivative or whatever, but you know, they're very intentionally trying to bring back thrash, you know. So of course it's going to sound derivative. The question is it original enough so that Power Trip becomes more than just a novelty act, more than just a band that's like a copycat band or a tribute band, and can they evolve and morph, sort of mutate into their own special kind of unique thing? And I think, obviously these guys are very, very talented. I think they have the chops to be able to do whatever they want, really. I think, you know, they could take this sound and move it in a million different directions, or they could just keep doing this and it would sound great. They'd have legions of fans. If every single album these guys released sounded like this album, they'd have a very, very successful career, and they'd never have to worry about working in a cubicle, ever. You know, they'd be able to support themselves, have the life that they wanted. But, yeah, I really like... most of the stuff I've heard on here has been great. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the 7th track on the album, If Not Us, Then Who, which, you know, obviously they're the ones bringing back thrash, right? And if it's not going to be Power Trip, who's it going to be? I think Vector holds the crown in that arena, even though Vector's sort of got this sci-fi kind of outer space, hyper-technical thing going on that sort of, they're not at all like a throwback, really. Yeah, I think until further notice it's Vector. Vector's now disbanded, so who knows, man? Maybe it's going to be Power Trip leading the pack, and I'm sure that Havoc is going to have something to say about that too. So, but anyway, we're going to get to the 7th track. It's 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's see what this is about. Another banger, man. The lead guitar work is stellar. The rhythms are stellar. Everything is stellar. I'm getting to the point, like I've gotten with so many of these albums, like I don't know what else you guys want me to say about this. Like, this is just really, really good, man. I don't care if it's derivative or not. I think that when this album came out, you know, last year, I remember seeing it on a lot of different lists. I remember it was on Loudwire. I think Banger TV put it on a list. And I saw it at a few other places on the internet. And I just didn't want to go there. I was at the time, I wasn't in a place where I was ready for some retrograde shit like this. I'm glad I waited, because if I would have listened to this at the wrong time, I probably would have had the opposite reaction. I would have said, man, fuck this, fuck stuff like this. This isn't original. This is, again, this is derivative. You know, this is uninspired. You know, hogwash is what this is, to put it, you know, put it nicely. But, you know, I waited, and then I kept seeing it, kept seeing it, kept seeing it. My curiosity started to grow. And now here I am, and I'm finally listening to it. It's a good length. I like shorter albums. You know, this one's only 32 minutes, so it's not going to overstay its welcome at all. The songs are interesting and fun. You know, it's a time capsule. The guitars sound great. The drumming is interesting. The guy's voice, he sounds like the dude from Slayer, so he sounds good. And I've liked nearly everything I've heard on this so far. Again, I know I've already said that, but I'm running out of things to say, like I said. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this track out. Let's see if they... It'd be cool if they broke into like a crazy proggy interlude, and that's the second half of this song. If they did pulled like a Rivers of Nile and started putting in some saxophone here, I think some sax would really work in this music. I think just, you know, you can't have an extreme metal album these days without having saxophone in it. I think these guys, I know thrash isn't extreme, but I think they should try, you know, put a little, let's try a little sax solo in the second half of this song. Let's see how that goes over. When is someone gonna release the ultimate chuggy album? When's someone gonna sit down and record just, 50 minutes of themselves palm muting the low string and just chugging away on that low string, just over and over again for, like I said, for 50 minutes, track after track after track. Like, can someone please release that album? I want to see that come to fruition. Like with the palm muting, it has to have, the palm muting's got to be in there. But at my funeral, that's what I want. I want like for someone to come there, like the local guitar center, go there, find someone to come and play, hook up a Jackson, with some Marshall amplifiers, some good distortion, and I just want them to sit there and go like for 4 minutes. That's what I want. That sound rocks me to sleep every night. That's where I'm coming from. That's what this is. This worships at the altar of that sound. This album. That's what it was about, man. Like, I feel like that era, that's, when you're talking about thrash and what that represents, and death metal too, for that matter, you're talking about a few different guitar techniques. It doesn't really, a lot of the riffs are complicated or can be complicated. A lot of the solos, just pick a typical Megadeth, any of Megadeth's big songs. Just listen to any of those, man. Hangar 18, Holy Wars, Tornado of Souls, like, as a prime example. Like, pick any of those songs and just listen to, like, some of the complexity there, like with the riff writing and with the guitar playing. The complexity is there in thrash. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that when you talk about, there are certain sounds that are just intrinsic to that style, and I think that palm muted open low string, I think that's one of them, man. You can't have thrash without that, and that is all over this thing. So yeah, I really like that. It's one of the simplest things in metal, but a lot of times it gets overlooked, I think, because it's become a little bit of a cliche now. But it sounds good, is what I'm trying to say. We're here, guys. This is the closer, Crucifixion. Wow. I really screwed that up. Crucifixion is the last song. It's track 8. It is 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So this is a long song for these guys on this album. It's the longest song on the album by at least a minute. I'm excited to get into this thing. How do you close an album like this out? Again, I don't know with some of these closers, guys, on these different albums. Like, I feel like I'm listening to the album the entire time. I get the aesthetic, I get the sound. A lot of times I get the formula that the songs are written with and written in. I sort of know what the band likes to do, the different edges of their sounds, where the limits are, kind of, and where they're at, what their influences are, maybe. But then I always get to the last track and I feel like I never know what to expect. Yeah, again, I really don't know what to expect on this last track. Is it going to be blistering like Firing Squad? Is it going to be an anthem like Executioner's Tax? Is it going to be sort of a more measured mid-tempo like Nightmare Logic, the title track? Is it going to have some really cool drumming, drum patterns like Waiting Around to Die? Is it going to be a lot of these things all kind of coalesced into one song? It's the longest one on the album, so that tells me there's going to be more ideas in this final track than on any of the other tracks. There's more stuff there, right? So anyway, without further ado, here's the finale. This is Crucifixion. Jesus Christ, man. Oh my god, dude.
Fixation, mental devastation, spiritual mockery, American hypocrisy.
Yeah, we just witnessed one of the coolest transitions, like, on this entire thing. Like, the song started out with sort of that intense gallop, right? The gallop from hell. And I felt like, Paul Revere or somebody, like, I was on horseback and it was at night and buildings were burning and I was trying to get somewhere very, very quickly. Like running away from something or trying to arrive in time so I could save somebody else. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, we started out with that, and then we get to about... Okay, so they've done this on this album quite a number of times. They'll start out with a certain theme, and then they'll want to make a transition to something else, but instead of making a sudden transition, they always stop everything almost, and they make it real gradual for you, so you don't get, it's not jarring, Like again, here, if you notice, the tempo has slowed way down, and they're going to go in another direction, but you don't know what they're going to do, and then they hit you with this. Just the slowness. That was one of my favorite parts on the whole thing, man. I love the way that they were willing to kind of go there. You've got this still, the guy is chugging, right? But the drum pattern is so slow, and it's such a departure from what they were doing earlier on in the song. It really caught me by surprise. I loved that so much. I think, this band has a good idea of how to pull off some of the more sudden transitions, but the way they do it, like I've said, they really slow everything down. They kind of build up to it again, and they let the listener know, like, hey, the music's about to shift. It may shift drastically here, so get ready. It puts a little bit more anticipation and builds a little bit more pressure as far as like what's about to come, but so far they've delivered on every single thing that they've built up to it on this album with those sorts of transitions like I just outlined. They've always delivered. You've never felt let down or like it was anticlimactic or like, it's always transitioned for me into something that I've enjoyed. So, but anyway, I tend to get long-winded on these, so I'm sorry, guys. But I'm going to let this finish out. This is the last, almost, 3 minutes of the album. Great job, Power Trip. You ended the album on one of the strongest songs on the album. Like, that song deserved to be the closer. There were a lot of different changes in that song. The peak intensity, though, of the song, as we were coming down the home stretch of the song, wasn't the last minute. It didn't happen in the last minute. It actually occurred, like, right in here. And I'm going to rewind it so you guys can know what I'm talking about. This. To me, that almost sounds like death metal, you know? Like that, just that section right there. With how just dirty, fast, heavy, you know. Yeah, I really liked that. There were a lot of parts in here that I liked. I don't want to go over all of them because that seems like a lot of work. I just want to kind of wrap this thing up. So what I'll say is, I think this band is going to catch a little bit of shit. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I think this is a great album, and this is a great band, and these are excellent songs. I love these songs. Crucifixation, Ruination, Waiting Around to Die, Firing Squad. Like, those four by themselves, I think, are ones that I'll be listening to a whole hell of a lot. Like, a ton, probably. But I still think that with certain bands, especially bands like this band, because they're so blatantly going for a certain retrograde sound and trying to revive it and bring it back, some people are going to love that, but a lot of people aren't going to like that. This band is clearly a popular band. They've clearly had a lot of success, so they've got more people on their bandwagon than people that are haters or detractors. But it's just interesting because, you know, things like this can be a little bit divisive. You have people sort of on both sides of the fence. Some people don't really want to see old sounds get revived. They just want to know and hear the new stuff, right? They want something that's cutting edge, something that's pushing the envelope. Other people, you know, some of those albums that came out in the 80s thrash era, some of those are some of their favorite albums of all time. And they listen to those albums still on a regular basis. So for them, something like this is like, wow, you know, it's a sort of a revelation. I'm somewhere in the middle, I guess, when it comes to that argument. I don't want every band to just be reviving old sounds. I think if we get stuck in that mode, like we have in a lot of areas of the rock universe, I think then it stunts the growth of the genre ultimately. You know, people keep trying to innovate, or stop trying to innovate. They stop trying to push boundaries. They stop trying to find that leading edge. They don't care about the leading edge. All they care about is paying homage to their favorite bands that already came before some 20, 30 years ago. I don't want to see the metal world get saturated with that kind of music. I think it's going to end up being a bad thing. It shows, for one thing, like I've said, it shows that the genre is kind of dying. If that's the majority of the music out there. But the good thing is that that's not the case. That's not the majority of the music that's out there. People could argue with me on that, but I would say that most musicians these days in the metal world are trying to carve out a new sound for themselves. They're trying to carve out something unique. They're blending different influences, different takes on things. They're coming up with different permutations of metal that we've never heard before, and there's a definite leading edge, you know. The fact that Power Trip exists is actually cool because it's sort of, it occupies a certain space. It's not completely, what they're doing isn't completely ubiquitous throughout metal or rock, but it's occupying sort of a unique space where it's like, okay, well, you want to hear thrash? Oh, you got to check all these bands out. These bands are the bands that are doing modern thrash. You know, and that's cool. I think it's good for us to have people like that we can go to get our kind of fix on that type of music. You know, I think they do what they do very well. I'm just glad that this type of thing, not thrash in particular, but just, I mean, the kind of unearthing the older sounds. I'm glad that this approach is sort of just something you see more or less here and there. At least that's what I see. I don't see a ton of bands doing it to this extent. So, but overall, I mean, Power Trip, you guys did an excellent job with this album. I really enjoyed this thing, and I didn't expect to really enjoy it as much as I did. So you've won a fan, and I hope I didn't seem or sound too pretentious in this video. Guys, I'm not an arbiter of good metal. You already know that. I'm just a guy that lives in the Midwestern United States, that publishes his reactions to albums on YouTube. That's basically all I am and all I'll ever be. Okay, I'm not an authority on metal. So if I say something in this video that you don't agree with, you know, let me know what you think. Try not to be rude or, you know, malicious in your comments or whatever. And then I'll talk back to you. Maybe we'll come to a middle ground or an understanding where we can both walk away from the conversation feeling better than when we entered. So that's my goal. That's what I want. This album, again, I would give it like, on a rating scale, it'd be a really fucking high score. I don't know what it would be, probably like a 9 or a 10 on a scale of 10. Super high, loved it almost all the way through. I want to see more from these guys, and they're on Southern Lord. I know Southern Lord Records has got a very prestigious name now in metal. They put out a lot of quality stuff. I want to see these guys' follow-up album, because I know it seems like they're trying to get a little bit sci-fi, especially with the album cover, seems a little sci-fi. I want to see where they kind of take this thing, because like I said, they already have an excellent foundation. They can go in a million different directions with this if they chose to. So yeah, I would be fascinated to see if their follow-up to this, if it chose somewhat of a fusion or hybrid kind of direction to go in, or if they stuck true to sort of the classic thrash, you know, formula that they've already established with this album. Yeah, I'm interested in this band. They have a new fan in me. I'm probably going to purchase this thing. So if I've said anything in this video to piss you guys off, maybe that'll help warm it over a little bit. I'm going to purchase this thing this year at some point. And yeah, guys, that's it. I'm going to do some more. This is a hand-picked album that I chose. I'm going to do some more subscriber requests after this. I've got a concert on Saturday, and I'm going to make a video for a concert review for that. So you guys will watch out for that video. Just in case you guys, if you're wondering, I'm going to be seeing Primus and Mastodon live. So that should be really good. I'm going to, you know, give you guys a review on that and how that went. But we've got some great albums here that people have been suggesting. We've got a lot of stuff to kind of pick from. There's about 4 different albums that I'm looking at right now as far as doing for the channel. And yeah, you guys are going to be seeing some more videos here pretty soon. Next week is going to be kind of rough. Next week, I'm working a lot Monday and Tuesday, and then after Tuesday, I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to be leaving. I'm going on a fishing trip, and I'll be gone, you know, for about 4 or 5 days. So you're going to see another gap in the productivity of the videos as far as me making videos. You're going to see another, I'm going to go on a little brief hiatus here. But as soon as that vacation's done, I'll be back to my more or less normal work schedule. I can start churning out more of these. This is going to be my 3rd one this week, so I hope you guys are happy with that. If you're not happy with that, then you may want to go follow another channel, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much more than 3 album reactions a week, because these are long videos. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike, guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for supporting me. And you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is Metal Album Reactions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.